Hey, what's up, everybody? Ollie After back with a brand new video. Today, I got a quick message for you guys, and that's the aspect of taking action and instant action. And the reason I'm sharing this with you guys is because I've seen a lot of you guys start your credit repair journey and you're kind of stuck and you come across a situation where you are unable to pursue forward. And there could be pretty much hundreds of reasons as to why you're scared to move forward and why you're not getting the outcome that you're looking to obtain. My biggest thing for you guys is when you start a campaign where you're starting your credit repair journey is not to stop, it's to continue, and it's to push forward, and it's try to maximize the opportunity to create the results that you're looking for. Sometimes it's just a question of us getting outside of our comfort zones and pushing the boundaries and pushing the Rubicon into structures that we're able to comfortably attain results with. So to set you apart in obtaining these results, I want you to really think about the structure that you're using when it comes to fixing your personal credit. I'm going to talk about three things today. I'm going to talk about structure, which is a critical component of successful credit repair. I'm going to talk about complacency, which is a lot of people get way too comfortable in certain things when they're doing credit repair. And I'm going to talk about derivative, which is basically the outcome that you want to create, but what are some of the external factors that are essentially holding you back or perhaps even intervening in the process of you getting the results that you're looking for. To create results, number one, we talked about structure. So what does structure look like? What it should typically be? What are some of the things that you need to consider when it comes to structure? The first thing you need to understand is how have you approached your credit repair journey to start with, right? Are you using traditional means, template letters? Are you using things that are very generic that allows the Oscar system to play with? Because at the end of the day, we want to avoid getting played around with, right? We want to avoid things that are essentially hurting your ability to get the best outcomes possible. So if you're using infrastructure that's templated, that's not necessarily the best in your best interest, that's not necessarily, solid enough, then what's going to happen is you're going to get results that are not necessarily guaranteed. So to avoid that, we need to look at structure. The structure has to be something that, a lot of my videos I share with you guys, use infrastructure that you can depend on. Use infrastructure that you know for a fact that you can say, hey, this is not the same as a template. I've taken my measures to be very unique and I've broken it down in a systematic way that automatically sets me apart, that automatically puts me in a situation where I can actually get the results a lot more efficiently than if I were to use a systematic structure that's kind of templated. So that's the structure. How do we determine what the right structure is? Well, simple. Understand what the account is, right? Or understand the series of negatives. Understand how to read your reports. The best ability is to be able to read your reports when it comes to credit repair, right? Understanding what to say once you read it. That's the second thing. And I think the third we can add to that when it comes to structure is understanding what to say, understanding how to read it, but also what plan of execution are you going to use? What structure and plan of execution are you going to rely on to get the best outcomes possible? That is a must. Because if you don't use that, and if you're ignoring these things, and if you're thinking that it's always going to be the same thing over and over again, I promise you, you're mistaken. So that's the first thing, right? It's the structure. Why am I sharing this with you? Like I said, I want you guys to get the results if you're being stuck. And you have to take the action. You have to move forward and take the action. The plan has to come together and it has to work in your favor. And it's something that you have to independently really focus on, because if you don't, you're not going to get the results. You're going to be stuck and you're going to try to reverse engineer what happened. And in most cases, I promise you, it's probably because of the way you set it up, the way you followed a certain system that's not necessarily in your favor. So to avoid that, we have to fight that, and we have to come strong in terms of how we execute the outcomes, right? So that's the same. That's the first point, right? Second point, like I said, is if you're thinking about credit repair, you have to think about what's holding you back. Why these actions that you're not taking? Why are you being let down, and what's discouraging you from pushing forward? Because one of the things I can tell you comfortably is because if you don't start seeing results right away, a lot of people get discouraged real quick. And it happens very frequently. And by the way, I apologize. I don't know what's happening, but there's a little bit of background music over there. People having a great time. So I just decided to cut down on some music today and give you guys the raw footage. So once again, what's holding you back? Why are you not pushing forward? What's the actions that you need to take? Sometimes we convince ourselves that it's because, hey, the reason why we're not pushing forward, or the reason as to why we're not getting the results, is because it's an unfair platform and it's unfair to us because the credit bureaus have the advantage. And I tell you what, that's not 100% true. Although they have a solid infrastructure and they're very big and then they're very unique in terms of the infrastructure and organizational support that they have. It's not necessarily a case that we have to think that it's unfair because they're big, right? It's unfair. It's because you're not taking the right actions and the steps that you need to make it fair. You want to even out the playing field. The best way to do that is be unique in your approach. You know, a lot of people follow the credit repair strategies that are templated, and that's actually not going to help you. That's the second point, which is what's holding you back is going to be that. It's because of the templates you use. But doesn't mean just because you use those templates, it's too late and you can't push forward. Not necessarily, right? Just because it's over doesn't necessarily mean it's over, technically speaking. What you can do is you can step back, you can observe what you've done so far, and take those series of understandings and your knowledge, deepen your knowledge a little bit more, refine your approach, understand the strategy more efficiently in terms of what you need to do, how to execute the next few things that you need to execute. And from that perspective, you know, retool and create a path for yourself that you will be successful because of the way you've done it that's different now. So that's the second point I'd say. So if you're being held back and you're not getting the results, it's because of those things. It's because of the templated responses and you're being discouraged because of that. But the good thing here is it doesn't have to stop there. So what are some of the things that you can do if you're getting kickbacks because the credit bureaus decided that was a templated response? Well, the first thing you need to do, like I said, is refine your approach. The best way to do that is call the bureaus up, stop any and all disputes that you've got going on. This is a strategy that it's called a reset. And this is so important because a lot of people miss this by a mile, is they try to continue their disputes and their challenges without resetting the clock. You have to reset the clock if you want the best outcomes possible. Because if you're going to go ahead and dispute the same thing and again, and even if you try a different approach, the problem is the credit bureaus already have a logged activity of what you've already tried to do, and that can actually be very painful for you to try and overturn that and try to mess with the system. So you got to call in if you can, and you got to let them know you're no longer disputing the accounts and to reset the whole thing so that you can start from scratch. And this way, it'll help you quite a bit, because I've seen a lot of my customers go through the same process where they try and refine their strategy. Even some of my students from the Ultimate Personal Credit Mastery, they try to refine their strategy and they say, Ali, I'm getting stuck with some of my customers. Or if they're a customer themselves, hey, Ali, what's going on? I'm getting stuck, and what can I do to get unstuck? And I'd say, look, the first step is really to call the bureaus and remove all those comments and challenges that you've got going on. Any type of notes that are indicating to the Oscar system that this was already done before and we're not going to waste our time. And that's probably one of the biggest reasons why you're getting challenges and kickbacks and you're going to be discouraged. So to prevent that, call them up and reset the clock. And then past that, go ahead and execute your next set of campaigns, which you should be able to do very comfortably, no problem. So that's the second point. Third, we talked about derivatives. You know, outside factors that may be potentially hurting you. So how do you go about fixing that? Well, simple. First, you have to see what exactly is the issue with your personal credit, right? If it's a lot of debt that you've been borrowing for a long time and you've been getting in debt over and over again and your financial habits haven't changed and you haven't adapted to a modern way of thinking when it comes to managing money, it's going to hurt you and it's going to be constant. It's not going to be something that you feel like, oh, one day it's going to be good and the other it's not. It's a question of consistency with your financial habits. You have to be maintaining that to the best of your ability to be consistent with exactly what you're doing, because that's number one. And number two, these derivatives can also be the fact that your family depends on you quite a bit and you got a lot of things on your shoulders and your income necessarily doesn't add up to some of the stuff that you need to execute on when it comes to lifestyle management. And hence a lot of people go into debt because of that. Sometimes it's medical expenditures, sometimes it's emergency funds, tapping into financial credit systems in order to help your kids go through education and so on and so forth. So managing expectation is critical. Sometimes it comes to us and we can't do anything about it. It's just life. It happens. But the best thing you can do about that is try to control the way it goes, and is try to control the way it goes in terms of handling it afterwards, and try to refine your credit. Try to get those bumps, right? A derivative that it will impact your credit long-term, an outside factor, is how you maintain your existing relationships. Even if you're paying the minimum payment, I would recommend saving up a pot that can go towards building that bulk and paying down those debts more aggressively. And I promise you, it'll be rewarding, but at the same time beneficial for your personal credit, because then you come back strategically, ask for bumps into your limits. And we know utilization is the second biggest factor when it comes to credit scoring. The first is obviously payment history, but the utilization at that point can be bumped up, which means that you now have the ability to increase your scores even further, right? To get even better credit, to be able to leverage even more down the road, because that will be a situation, especially if it comes to lifestyle management. Leverage will be critical. And that could be you going into real estate investing and so on and so forth, or other different factors that depend on personal credit to get you across the road, right? So I hope this video helped you guys out and that you understood the 3 critical components of successfully executing credit repair and what's potentially holding you back. First point we talked about is refining your strategy, understanding how you're going about doing it. Second point we talked about was what's holding you back. And usually it's the same template of responses, and the eOscar system has logged you into that system. And the way to do that is to get rid of it. And by doing so, you'll reset the clock, which means you'll have to call in and tell them you're no longer disputing so that you can continue doing what you had to do. Third point we talked about is derivatives, which are the third-party factors that are hurting your credit. Sometimes we talk about financial management, sometimes it's circumstances, but all the time, which we have control over, is how we handle our bankable relationships and how we build on that to make it more profitable for us, so we can increase the leverage that we got, and so on and so forth. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't subscribed yet, I'm telling you guys, it's going to help me quite a bit. Go ahead and subscribe and turn the notifications on to all. Don't forget to smash that like button, because YouTube helps me push out that content to other people who enjoy learning the content as much as you. So it'll help me, greatly. Obviously, I can continue doing more of these. Hit that like button for me. Don't forget to share this video with those that you feel could benefit from the knowledge that I've shared with you today. And if you have any specific questions in reference to strategy, derivative, and or what's holding you back, I strongly encourage you to leave a comment below so that we can have a discussion. So with that said, this is definitely your guide and mentor. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye for now.